We are presently witnessing perhaps the most brazen crime in the history of crime. And Mike, people who are watching More Pain know you are an authority on schemes. How are you tonight, Mike?
Hey man, how you doing? What's going on?
I'm well. How does this
Good.
scheme rank in the...
Well, it's a multifaceted scheme. I think you needed to have COVID to have this scheme because you needed the mail-in voting. So it's not just an election fraud scheme; it's a massive scheme. Perhaps with one of the major benefits or one of the major prizes is election fraud. And on top of that, they get to control you and lock you up and take your money away. And as Moynihan told me, and some other people have said, this is a disparity operation to take your money away, make you poor, and cripple you financially, and make you. What happens if you can't stand on your own 2 feet? You depend on who? You're going to depend on the government for some help, and for the folks that are depending on the government for help, okay, that's set up as a bridge, supposedly, to help you out during tough times until you get back on your feet. But what if you never get back on your feet? What if the playing field is so slanted and it's been so rigged that all the pieces that are on the board for you to get back on your feet have been just wiped off? The businesses, your businesses, your career, okay, all the stores, all the economies, not only of the United States, but of the world, just wiped off, just wiped out and wiped off. And then what are you left with? I mean, so who are you going to depend on? And where are you going to go? And
Let me ask you this, Mike.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that have been... How many people do you know that have had a fatal outcome from contracting COVID-19?
I don't know anybody.
How many people do you know that have lost their job or their business or their home?
60% of the people I know are in really bad shape. 60%. Yeah, the other
That's what I'm talking about.
The other 40% were doing pretty well. And if anything happened, they probably were going to be okay because they sucked a lot of money away. But most of the people I know live paycheck to paycheck. They might not have even realized that they live paycheck to paycheck until this time. I consider, with the college and stuff, but I consider myself still a working class guy. I don't know. We used to hang out with these hoity-toity people, like when my kids were in private school. And I wanted to throat punch these people. I was like, this is going to go bad. They like talk down to you, like, where did you summer? I was like, in my room.
The YMCA. Yeah, what are you talking about?
I summer next to a fire hydrant.
Right.
That's where I summer. What are you talking about? Oh, we summered in the Riviera. I'm like, yeah, me too. I said, me too. My buddy had a Buick Riviera. We used to cruise around.
But wait a second. Back to the Joe Biden fraud that's currently underway, because everybody is being gaslit to an extent that is like kind of unfathomable. Now, most of the people watching are aware, Mike, that you and I are doing a sponsor exclusive show. People can see it on subscribestar.com/truepundit, patreon.com/truepundit, and Subscribestar and Patreon/crowdsource the truth. Last week, the election wasn't even over. I think the polls were closing as we went live. You brought out evidence, firsthand testimony from people who are already reporting that Kathy Buckvar, was she the Secretary of State? Of Pennsylvania. Yeah. We had allegations of cheating in multiple counties, and right away, your Twitter handle was suspended, basically in real time on this show. What's happened to your Twitter handle? What's happened with those allegations since last week?
Well, we broke that on Twitter at 7:10 p.m. The polls in Pennsylvania closed at 8 p.m. You and I went live at 7:30 p.m. As we were on the show, they yanked the account. They shut the tweet down, okay? So, and then they, limit access to your account. I don't care about that. But they said they limited it because it was misleading and false information regarding the election. And so we filed an appeal with them, and we showed them. I said to you last Tuesday that they're going to file a lawsuit against this woman.
Right.
The top officials in the state are going to file a lawsuit against this woman, and they're going to call for her resignation, all in a matter of hours. Now, that happened at like midnight and 1 a.m. We were off the air for hours. And so it wasn't false and misleading. It's just the first guy out of the gate. It's called a scoop. But Twitter limits it, calls it false and misleading. The incredible thing is, bro, 4:30 in the morning, we're still working because it's election night and it's dragging on, and I had podcasts to do. So I put a podcast together, explained everything, broke everything down. We had gotten internal memos by that time and all kinds of stuff. So Twitter, when you file an appeal, they give you 250 characters to file an appeal.
Ridiculous.
It's like, so I pasted a couple of links and I said, how's it false and misleading when all this news came out? One, Republicans filed a lawsuit against this bird brain. Two, top Republicans in the state, majority leader in the state, and the president pro tempore in the state called for her resignation at midnight. Three, Fox is reporting it at midnight. Four, AP reported the lawsuit at 9:10 p.m. on the election. So I just gave them the links. I said, you guys are off on this. You're very cordial, I didn't say, hey, you pieces of shit. I had to come out there with a flamethrower. I didn't say anything like that. But I reserve the right in the future to use such harsh language. But
right.
And then they wait. These guys are really skillful. We'll get back to you. This is 4:30 in the morning on going into Wednesday morning. Saturday they get back to me. Yeah, you still violated everything. I'm sorry. So you have
Ridiculous.
to delete it. And I'm like, you couldn't, if you were a prosecutor, you couldn't lay out a better case to get yourself off a death row. It's like a slam dunk. And they're like, yeah, I know, it's still misleading and false. No, it's not. Now, I didn't say she was doing all this stuff. I said officials say, top officials in the state say that she's doing this.
Which
and what's
they did.
come out? Well, and now it's in federal court. Trump filed yesterday in federal court. Guess what's part of his lawsuit?
Your article.
The same stuff, the documentation. Right. And the president was tweeting about it the next day, about what a disaster Pennsylvania is. So they tell you, oh, you're misleading, you're this. They don't even look at it. It's in the tank. They're in the tank. It's a joke. And it turned into a massive national story. Like I said on here last week, you and I said, this is going to be a big story. This is going to be a national story. I mean, look, it's like anything else, right? If you don't know what a winner is at this point after being in this business for a while, then you're lost. Like, you know a winner as soon as you see it. As soon as somebody calls you, a top guy calls you and gives you that kind of information, you know that story's a winner. It's really interesting. It's like having a rigged horse race. It's like somebody calls you up and says, put all the money on this horse to win.
Right.
And then it's like what was that movie with Paul Newman?
Which one? Horse racing, Paul Newman? I don't know.
The one where they rigged the horse race. The Hustle?
I don't know.
The Hustle?
The Sting.
Anyway. Oh, the Sting. Yeah, the Sting. It's like the Sting, right? Except you're not the guy getting played. You're the one picking the actual winner. So, and it was a home run. Now, for us, it would have been a massive story. But you know what? We fucked up because I broke my protocol. My protocol for a long time has been we'll put a story out on it and then link to the story. But I was under the gun. It was election night. We were going to do this show. And I said, you know what? I'll just tweet it out. And boom. So they can't hammer you if you post a news story and tweet it out. They have to put a little thing on the bottom saying, this might be incorrect. Our fact checkers, our communist fact checkers said that this probably is incorrect, right? But so I broke protocol because we were busy and I got stung. So I don't even care about Twitter anymore. So we're back up on Twitter, but I haven't tweeted that much and you have to get off these platforms. I know it sounds crazy. People are going to have to get off these platforms. They've turned these places into a communist battlefield where no matter what you do, you can't win. It's rigged.
Well, but let me ask you this, Mike, because
Yeah.
we've got Joe Biden making all kinds of statements that are false and misleading. He's just given a speech a few hours ago from the office of the president-elect, which first of all doesn't exist, and second of all, he is not. He has not been elected. He is not the president-elect. This thing remains in question, and it's quite strange. If he's so confident in the integrity of the election and his legitimate win, doesn't it seem like somebody would say, you know what? Let's let Donald Trump recount the votes. We're confident that this was all done properly. They're not saying that. They're saying, oh, you're complaining. There's no need to recount. Get over it. Concede. Biden even said it was embarrassing that Donald Trump would not concede. That was offensive to me. I think it's embarrassing that we've got a guy who cheated, who's been bribed by China, receiving money through his crackhead son, who now thinks he can steal the office of the President of the United States.
If some people haven't had the unfortunate misadventures during training of figuring out what it's like to be waterboarded, this is what it's like to be waterboarded. You're being waterboarded with this guy by the media who's in the tank, by the fools at Fox. All right. They're waterboarding the fact that this guy is the president down your throat, that he's the president-elect down your throat, that he's the 46th president of the United States down your throat. You're being waterboarded. That's why it feels so uncomfortable.
Yes.
It feels so unnatural. That's exactly what it is. It's waterboarding. Every time you try to come up for air, you get hit with it again by these guys. It's not reality. It's complete make-believe. The whole thing is complete. And I said this for the last 2 days. After Fox started saying, we did it on our podcast. The Fox headline was Biden wins election. And it's like they went through this whole thing. Donald Trump has finally lost his bid for the presidency, according to the Fox decision desk.
It's ridiculous.
Fox decision desk is calling the race. I'm like, last time I checked the Fox decision desk, Megyn Kelly was in her lingerie dancing on it with Shep in a Speedo. Okay? Don't tell me about your stupid decision desk, right? We're according to projections. What kind of projections? Who the hell do you people think you are? You couldn't even call Arizona. You couldn't even get that state. So instead, it's like, hey, we screwed up the election by calling Arizona. Fox did when the polls were still open. Hold my beer. Let's call all 50 states. And now, anytime anybody says anything about the fact that the election hasn't been certified for anybody, Fox is like, whoa, let's show some proof of fraud. You don't need proof of fraud. The GSA, the General Service Administration, which certifies elections in the United States, has come out and said, hey, man, nobody's president yet. Everybody chill out until the process. We were on the process. And in the year 2000, took Gore 37 days to get to the Supreme Court and get a verdict, right? They give Trump 5 days, like, it's over.
They keep saying, Mike, that there's no evidence, but yet I saw Rudy Giuliani, I think, yesterday on Fox saying there's a ton of evidence, but you're the first national news program that's had me on to talk about it. So all these guys are saying, oh, there's no evidence, but they aren't even looking. And yet we've had a 4-year-long persecution of the president with no evidence. This really got me. Joe Biden, during his idiotic press conference that he just had, he admitted that he's speaking to foreign countries. This is exactly what they jammed up Michael Flynn for, except what Biden is doing is even worse, because Michael Flynn was the incoming national security advisor. He was totally authorized to be speaking to foreign countries. Why don't they come and arrest Joe Biden for the same thing they were after Flynn for?
Well, you're missing the point that Joe Biden always talks to these foreign countries just to get his payments.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just a regular phone call for him. Hey, where's my money based on whatever scheme I have in your country? I mean, it's crazy as that. I mean, think about it. A Logan Act violation. You think that the DOJ is going to come after Biden for a Logan Act violation when they haven't hammered him for outright fraud and probably borderline treason? Logan Act is like jaywalking, right? It's like he went out and he didn't have an inspection sticker on his car or something like that. That's nothing compared to the fraud that he's perpetuated for years. Look, I've said this before. This isn't like this happened. Like, I think the media has done a decent job of uncovering some of the stuff the Biden family has done recently. This goes back 50 years. It's one scheme after another. It's the Egyptian pyramid of schemes, this family, right? If you add it all up, it starts to get to the amount of you're into the billions of schemes, billions of dollars worth of schemes. This is like getting into, cue up Stacy Keach for an episode of American Greed. These guys are unbelievable. And he thinks he's just going to waltz in to the presidency. It doesn't work that way, right? But so they create this office that doesn't even exist. You tell them, the GSA hasn't called the election. Oh, no, we don't care. We don't pay any attention to that. We're moving ahead. Okay, guess what? Remember the first time a little kid jumped behind the wheel of their dad's car when it wasn't moving? They're like, look at me, Dad, I can drive, right? That's what this is like. It's like a little kid who wants to drive the car, but he doesn't have the keys. He doesn't have the license. He doesn't really know what the hell he's doing, okay? For somebody who's been in government this long, if he was noble and this was a true operation, he'd say, hey, man, let's just let it run its course. It's called the Constitution. Did you see Al Gore? Al Gore was informing, an office of the presidents. We would have known it, too. He would have been out there. This is outlandish. Look, I am the president. We need to do something about these big clouds. We need to do something about these clouds. It's hot out here. Is it just me?
Now, Mike, I do want to give our viewers a little bit of hope because I think there was a pretty major development this morning. Even CNN, the communist news network, they had to flip back Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina to being undecided. So it does feel like there was a little bit of movement there. It's sort of undeniable, right?
Well, there are big I don't know what these other folks are saying. There are big problems in Wisconsin. There are even bigger problems in Michigan, in Detroit, and a lot of the counties around Michigan. Okay,
and Pennsylvania.
There are big problems in Georgia. There are big problems in Pennsylvania. Big problems even in Texas, although that's already gone red. But they just had somebody there who was indicted for 134 felony counts of election fraud, and this is the scheme that they're using. They uncovered it in Texas. And it wasn't the feds, by the way. It was the state who uncovered it. You had some chick who worked in a nursing home who registered 60 or 70 old folks to vote and then filled out their absentee ballot. Well, hell, they didn't even know they had voted. That's somewhat against the law. And then some of those people were legally incapacitated, according to the court, to vote at all. So that's also a violation of law. And then, so that's 134 felony counts, okay?
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's one person, Jason. That's one person working in a nursing home. And I said, when we read this morning, I said, that's the scheme. That's what they're doing all over the country. That I guarantee you. And I guarantee you that's what Giuliani and Trump are going to look at.
I think that's only part of it, though, because I saw Rudy Giuliani. I've been watching a lot of news today, and I was watching the Andrew McCabe testimony at the Senate Judiciary. We're going to talk about all of that in just about 10 minutes when we get over to subscribestar.com and patreon.com/TruePundit and Subscribestar and Patreon/Crowdsource the Truth. But real quick, Mike, we've got some people who are watching who are asking, what is gaslighting? Do you want to help people who maybe haven't heard that term before understand what it is?
I think to me, gaslighting is just, I never really liked the term from where I come from. I just call it bullshitting or whipping the crowd up with bullshit. You're just lying to people, trying to whip everybody up. And sometimes you do it for an intended response. For instance, maybe you want people to lose their minds and get thrown off of Twitter and these things and that. So you're gaslighting, right? I guess you would mean.
But it comes comes from something where somebody was like turning up the gas, and
Yeah,
then
you
the
wanna
wife
throw
was
a
like,
flame.
hey, it's hot in here. And the husband was saying, no, you're crazy. It's the same temperature as always. And she'd turn the gas down and he'd turn it up. And it's trying to make the person think that they're crazy and this falsehood is true. Like Biden setting up this office of the president-elect, making
It's a
speeches as if
terrible.
he's won and just denying that there's any evidence when there is.
It's a terrible term because anybody who's been married a long time and their wife has gone through the changes of life know that gaslighting happens to every man who is in that situation. So I don't like the term because it reminds me of the thermostat wars that go on in many homes
Right.
as the wives start to change, so to speak. God bless them. Like I always say, it's better you guys than me. I wouldn't be able to handle this. I would have opted out a long time ago somehow.
But there were a number of important things, I thought, that give us some clues as to what Biden and Harris have planned. They brought out Kamala Harris first, and she made this little mini speech about how the Supreme Court today heard oral arguments about the Affordable Care Act. I felt that that was a low-key attack on the Supreme Court. If they are able to succeed with this greatest crime in history and shoehorn the senile old man into the White House, I think they're going to attack the Supreme Court as Donald Trump's Supreme Court. I think they're going to use that as an excuse to pack the court. They're already gaslighting people into thinking that the Affordable Care Act actually gives you affordable health care. It's just a giant insurance sales plan. There's a lot of stuff going on.
I would just tell people, try not to buy into the hype. You know, a lot of people bitched and moaned about fake news for a long time. And then now they're putting stock into it, right? Because they get tricked, they get sucked back in. Let's just see where it goes. Let's see where it goes, right? And then you make a decision when you know exactly the pieces that are on the chessboard. They want to get you all fired up and almost like to a lunatic fringe type situation. There's no harm. You voted. There's no harm to take a step back. And you got the holidays coming up. You got other stuff on your mind. Take a step back and see where it goes. I don't think this is over. I really don't think it's over. It doesn't make from what I'm hearing from DC. Listen, these guys at the White House, right? When on election night at the party they had. Even when they were falling behind in the polls, Trump was like, don't worry about it. We got this. There was no sense of panic whatsoever to everybody that they had there. There was not one sense of panic. Like, whatever happens, we kind of understand what's going on, that there's going to be widespread fraud and cheating. So right. I'm just passing that on from what I've heard from a number of people that were there. There was no like, holy shit, we're in trouble, man. Oh, man, what are we going to do? There was none of that. It's like, have a drink, relax. And we'll gear up for the fight after this. They expected this, right? I mean,
have a cream soda, make a sandwich, do something.
Do fucking something, Sid.
Yeah.
but so the point is, you should do the same because we don't have any control over this. There's no reason to get all hepped up at this point. Take a step back. And the funny thing is, if it does go Trump's way, then you're going to see some problems. These guys, they're the ones that are going to snap. Not you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mike, we have just a couple minutes left before we make the transition over to the sponsor exclusive segment. I just want to raise 2 points really quickly. Mike Peterson is with us on YouTube. He's asking, where is Frank Church? That is a very sharp question. Frank Church, of course, led the Church Committee senatorial hearings that exposed Operation Mockingbird, and I think we're seeing that. Operation Mockingbird revealed that the CIA was controlling the mainstream news. I don't think that that's changed. Last night on Unseen Libya, Joanne Moriarty raised the very insightful point that just a casual look at Twitter, the president has almost 89 million Twitter followers. Even if 3/4 of those people follow him to hate him, he still has, more Twitter followers than Joe Biden. When we look at the rallies, thousands of people for Donald Trump, 20 Jeeps that seem to have just rolled off the Chrysler, dealership lot. There's no enthusiasm or excitement for Joe Biden. except on the news, it seems pretty obvious that this is all fake.
Well, I mean, let's take a look at it from a fraud perspective. Certified fraud exam, right? When you go to school for that, you got to pass the test. It doesn't pass. Certain states, it doesn't pass the algorithms you would use to run fraud analysis. There's fucking red flags and flashing sirens all over the place.
What's that thing, Benford's Law?
Yeah, well, there's Benford's Law, okay? There are other things too. It's basic probability. You take a look at all the other, you do an analysis. You can actually have the machine do the analysis. You can use AI. If you used AI, you put all the data from the last 100 years of elections, right, into the machine, and the machine would say, warning, warning, problems. And it really would, because the numbers that are being produced in some of these precincts in the states, they defy basic odds and probability just of people who showed up to vote. It's like, wait a minute. Like, for instance, look, people in my family, we send in absentee ballots, right? Okay. They go online, it says absentee ballots, it doesn't say anything. Like, it usually would say your absentee ballot, you voted by mail-in ballot received. There's nothing. So what happened to the votes? What happened to our votes? They're gone. They don't exist. So if you look on there, you'll see like these people didn't even vote. So what happened to the ballots? What? Right? And friends of mine in the DEA, they went to vote, the husband and wife, and their kids are in college and away. And so they sent in their absentee ballots, and it's a small town. And the people said, yeah, because they look in the book, and they said, hey, did your kids vote? And they said, yeah, they voted by absentee ballots. Months ago, they said, no, we don't have it. We don't have it. And of course, they're all Trump votes. So it's like, wait a second now.
Yeah.
That's just myself and somebody I know. I mean,
now, Mike, I hate to cut you off, but we're just within minutes here. We got to make the switch. Problem. People can catch the in-depth conversation on this and more topics. We're going to be on subscribestar.com/truepundit, patreon.com/truepundit, subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I want to thank everybody who makes that show possible and remind people to check out the Thomas Paine podcast. Mike is going in depth on there every day now, and you can get your news, of course, from truepundit.com. We got to be careful, Mike. You've been breaking news on here, but we got to just try to maybe bend it, because we're pretty close to getting kicked off of everything. The YouTube channel will be back. People are watching us now on Crowdsource the Truth 2. I've been getting a lot of emails from people saying, where you been? The Jason Goodman channel got dinged right in the morning, right after we revealed that cheating in PA last week. So let's see what happens. We'll see everybody in just 2 minutes over